we must not lose our sincerity. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 264, Zen Buddhism, part 7, in which we will continue reading Dogen's Shobogenzo, picking up right where we left off in Zen Buddhism, part 6. If you would like to start at the beginning of this book, you can click here. There's a couple of other introductory episodes, and then we jump into reading this book. Something like that. Anyway, it's a fun playlist. I hope that you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's cue Deuter's Nada Himalaya 1, and I will begin. So today we're reading Ju-Undo-Shiki, which is translated as Rules for the Hall of Heavy Cloud. And the introductory part, not the translation, but the commentary of the editors and whatnot, says here, Ju-Undo, or the Hall of Heavy Cloud, was the name of the Zazen Hall of Kannon Dori Kosho Horinji Temple. Shiki means rules, so Ju-Undo-Shiki means rules for the Hall of Heavy Cloud. Kannon Dori Kosho Horinji Temple was the first temple established by Master Dogen. He built it in Kyoto Prefecture in 1233, several years after coming back from China. Ju-Undo was the first Zazen hall to be built in Japan. Master Dogen made these rules for the hall and titled them. The chapter was not included in Shobogenzo when the 75-chapter edition was compiled, but was added when the 95-chapter edition was compiled at the end of the 17th century. The inclusion of this chapter is very useful in understanding Shobogenzo because what is written here represents in a concrete way Master Dogen's sincere attitude in pursuing the truth. Now we'll begin the translation of Dogen's words. People who have the will to the truth, and who discard fame and gain, may enter. We should not randomly admit those who might be insincere. If someone is admitted by mistake, we should, after consideration, make them leave. Remember, when the will to the truth has secretly arisen, fame and gain evaporate at once. Generally, in all the great thousand-fold world, there are very few examples of the right and traditional transmission. There's a footnote on the 3,000 great thousand-fold world, this expression, which derives from the ancient Indian belief that the world comprises many groups of thousands of worlds, occurs frequently in the Lotus Sutra. Okay, good to know. In our country, this will be seen as the original source. Feeling compassion for future ages, we should value the present. The members of the hall should harmonize like milk and water, and should wholeheartedly promote each other's practice of the truth. Now we are, for the present, as guests and hosts. But in future, we will forever be Buddhist patriarchs. So now that each of us is meeting what is hard to meet, and is practicing what is hard to practice, we must not lose our sincerity. This sincerity is called the body and mind of the Buddhist patriarchs. It inevitably becomes Buddha and becomes a patriarch. We have already left our families and left our hometowns. We rely on clouds and rely on waters. The benevolence of the members of this Sangha in promoting each other's health and in promoting each other's practice surpass even that of a father and mother. A father and mother are only parents for a short span between life and death, but the members of this Sangha will be friends in the Buddha's truth forever. We should not be fond of going out. If absolutely necessary, once in 1 month is permissible. People of old lived in distant mountains or practiced in remote forests. They not only had few human dealings, but also totally disregarded myriad involvements. We should learn their state of mind in shrouding their light and covering their tracks. Now is just the time to practice as if to put out a fire on our head. How could we not regret idly devoting this time to worldly involvements? How could we not regret this? It is hard to rely on what has no constancy, and we never know where, on the grass by the path, our dewdrop life will fall. To waste this time would be truly pitiful. While we are in the hall, we should not read the words of even Zazen texts. Yeah, I'll keep reading though, just because it's what you came for, presumably. In the hall, we should realize the principles and pursue the state of truth. When we are before a bright window, we can enlighten the mind with the teachings of the ancients. Do not waste a moment of time. Single-mindedly make effort. We should make it a general rule to inform the leader of the hall where we are going, whether it is night or day. Do not ramble around at will. That might infringe the discipline of the Sangha. We never know when this life will finish. If life were to end during an idle excursion, that would certainly be something to regret afterwards. We should not strike other people for their mistakes. We should not look on people's mistakes with hatred. In the words of an ancient, quote, "When we do not see others' wrongness or our own rightness, we are naturally respected by seniors and admired by juniors." End quote. The editors added a footnote. He was quoting Master Hakuyo Hojin. Okay. And talk more about that in chapter 29. Good to know. At the same time, we should not imitate the wrongs of others. We should practice our own virtue. The Buddha prevented wrongdoing, but not out of hatred. Any task, big or small, we should do only after informing the leader of the hall. People who do things without informing the leader of the hall should be expelled from the hall. When formalities between members and leaders are disrupted, it is hard to tell right from wrong. In and around the hall, we should not raise the voice or gather heads to converse. The leader of the hall should stop this. In the hall, we should not practice ceremonial walking. There's a footnote. Gyodo, ceremonial walking, is a way of serving offerings to the Buddha image in which the practitioner circles the Buddha image 3 times, walking around clockwise so that the Buddha remains to the practitioner's right. Okay. In the hall, we should not hold counting beads, and we should not come and go with the hands hanging down. In the hall, we should not chant or read sutras. If a donor requests the reading of sutras by the whole order, then it is permissible. In the hall, we should not loudly blow the nose or loudly hack and spit. You could do it quietly, I guess, but if it were my hall, I'd say go outside. We should regret the fact that our moral behavior is still so imperfect. And we should begrudge the fact that time is stealing away, robbing us of life with which to practice the truth. It might be natural for us to have minds like fish in a dwindling stream. Members of the hall should not wear brocade. We should wear clothes of paper, cotton, and so forth. Paper? Like when you go to the doctor or massage therapist and they say, change into this. Never mind. Since ancient times, all the people who clarified the truth have been like this. Do not come into the hall drunk. If someone forgetfully enters by mistake, they should do prostrations and confess. Also, alcohol should not be brought into the hall. Do not enter the hall flushed and inebriated. If 2 people quarrel, both should be sent back to their quarters, because they not only hinder their own practice of the truth, but also hinder others. Those who see the quarrel coming but do not prevent it are equally at fault. Anyone who is indifferent towards the instructions for life in the hall should be expelled by the common consent of all members. Anyone whose mind is in sympathy with the transgression is also at fault. Do not disturb the other members by inviting guests, whether monks or lay people, into the hall. When talking with guests in the vicinity of the hall, do not raise the voice. Do not deliberately boast about your own training, greedily hoping for offerings. A guest who has long had the will to participate in practice and who is determined to tour the hall and do prostrations, may enter. In this case also, the leader of the hall must be informed. Zazen should be practiced as in the monks' halls, bracket parentheses, of China, and bracket parentheses, the editors clarified. never be even slightly lazy in attending and requesting formal and informal teaching, morning and evening. During the midday meal and morning gruel, a person who drops the accessories for the patra, the bowl, on the ground should be penalized according to the monastery rules. In general, we should staunchly guard the prohibitions and precepts of the Buddhist patriarchs. The pure criteria of monasteries should be engraved on our bones and should be engraved on our minds. We should pray that our whole life will be peaceful and that our pursuit of the truth will abide in the state without intent. These few rules listed above are the body and mind of eternal Buddhas. We should revere them and follow them. The 25th day of the 4th lunar month in the 2nd year of Reckonin, set forth by the founder of Kannon Dori Kokokuji Temple, Shramana Dogen, 1239. All right, well, as it mentioned in the beginning, this was not included in the original Shobogenzo, which presumably was compiled sometime in the 13th century, but was included 400 years later, which, that's interesting. I can kind of understand why they didn't include it in the original one, since it's very like, okay, here are the rules for, how to behave when you're in the Zazen hall where everybody's meditating, gazing at a wall, straw mat hanging on the wall, or what have you. Since, when you think of like the rules that are listed up on the wall when you enter into a holy place or a church or even a swimming pool area, it's kind of different from the teachings of the school, the philosophy, the religion, but then after 400 years, yeah, it might have made sense to include it, especially since maybe people might have been getting lax in the Zen temples of the 1600s. They said late 17th century, so late 1600s. And many of the lectures and writings, teachings of Dogen are, I don't know, much more on the level of ideas, much more ethereal, much more poetic, much, more deep, and insights about the teachings of other masters and insights Dogen himself has had, that kind of thing. Where this comes across as very kind of mundane, but still interesting. Interesting on a few levels. I mean, meditating is something that most of us aren't monks, right? I assume. Maybe there's one or two monks from maybe not a Zen tradition, but another tradition who are watching. Hello. But most of us who meditate do so outside of a group. So much of this doesn't really apply, but we can kind of reflect on what aspects of it do apply, what aspects of it might apply, and how we personally feel about the idea of this urgency, that the emphasis on the shortness of life, so don't waste your time going out and having friends or going out and doing these kinds of things. For us introverts, maybe that sounds like, I wasn't planning to go outside more than once a month anyway, so that's fine with me. I don't know. Personally, just speaking personally, I don't find it useful so much to... I mean, the impulse is there to do the math, as it were, on the approximate time which may or may not be left in this incarnation, and to weigh my activities in the moment based on what could, for lack of a better word, be termed fear of death. I tend to be more critical when I'm reading other things on another channel, where I'm less openly critical of this, but I find myself with the impulse to be critical of this one in particular. I don't want to be. I don't want to come across as somebody who's critical of someone I admire so much as Master Dogen. And if you follow the thought process all the way through, what is the end result of having no discipline versus having some discipline? He's instituting discipline within the monastery in order to maximize the benefits of the meditation, to maximize of course, some rules are common sense. Don't fight, don't blow your nose and spit and make all kinds of noises when there are other monks that are meditating in the hall. You want to have a space that's free from, as much as possible, unnecessary noise, especially human kind of chatter that brings you out of that state of serenity and stillness. And, like in the sense of a carrot and stick, it seems unnecessary to me, for me personally, to instill a sense of urgency through fear, or a sense of urgency through pitifulness. The pitifulness of how pitiful would it be if you weren't meditating at the moment of your death? What if you were outside just having some conversation with a passerby, or seeking fame or gain or whatever, and then your life had over? How pathetic would that be? I don't know, Master Dogen. Not that pathetic, I don't think. Not to me, maybe to you, but... So I don't know. I guess sometimes when I read something aloud, I don't want to be mistaken as a person who agrees with what I just read, necessarily. I love Zen Buddhism, but not enough to forsake all householder things and become a Zen Buddhist monk. But I find great inspiration in the dedication to meditating in silence and in, something close to lotus position. Sukhasana is just when you're just seated comfortably like I am right now. Padmasana is the lotus position where the legs are, folded like that. Then there's half lotus, where one foot is on the other thigh, but not both. Any of those is fine. Even in Fukan Zazengi, Dogen says if you can't do full lotus, do half lotus. But anyway, I enjoy reading Dogen. This one in particular was a little bit mundane, but it's good to get the idea of what the rules posted on the entrance, if, perhaps they were posted on the entrance, or perhaps they were just written down and explained to the new monks. It's also interesting to note the sort of elitism, the initiatory brotherhood aspect of if people behave themselves, then they can pursue enlightenment here in the Zazen hall. And if they don't, if they're not serious, then we should kick them out. We shouldn't let them in. And if we accidentally let them in and then realize they're not serious, then we should kick them out. Well, I am quite certain I probably wouldn't have been let in, and if I had been, I would have been kicked out in his day, as I am today, not just physically, but, mentally as well, in how I conduct myself. Though I can be quiet, I took karate as a 10-year-old, and I managed to stay quiet and focused, but I don't know. It's neither here nor there. Mostly I'm just filling a little bit of space, otherwise this episode would be very short, because that reading was very short. And we'll come back to Master Dogen's Shobogenzo again sometime in the next 10 episodes or so. And hopefully it'll be a little bit less mundane and a little bit more, kind of profound and uplifting. And thank you for joining me on this recital today. And if you notice that little number, I think it said 904 at the beginning, that's because this is the 904th YouTube video that I've made. Only 264 of them are Buddhist Books Podcast. The other 670 are on other channels. So if you're interested in exploring those other channels, you can visit the Pymander Aquarian playlist. It's sorted by popularity, so the videos that have been watched the most will be up on top, and the least popular will be on the bottom of the 904 videos. So hope you enjoy that, and I will go ahead and do the usual closing we do here. All right. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.